All right, welcome back to Blue by 90. I'm Justin, joined by Tanner. It is Friday morning. We're coming at you with a little pregame pod. Hopefully, you're listening to this, getting ready for Saturday against Rutgers. First and foremost, though, Thursday night football dominated by Michigan football. Ronnie Bell scores his touchdown. Jake Moody, what is he, 9 for 9 for field goals at this point?
Yeah, after kind of a shaky preseason, he really picked it up. I also asked my wife, I was like, hey, Ronnie Bell scored his first touchdown in the NFL. And she's like, oh, that's cool. And I was like, do you know who kicked the extra point? And she guessed Jake Moody. She's like, it's the only guy I know. And I'm like, well, you were right. That's why I asked you. So, yeah, it was a Michigan-heavy game. And George Kittle actually got me 12 points in fantasy. He had been struggling, so I'll take it.
Yeah. It was, I can't remember. I think it was Alejandro put it out on Twitter. It was like Ronnie Bell with the touchdown and Jake Moody with the extra point. That's really cool to see as a Michigan fan. I mean, first of all, I don't know, you just never think of those guys as, that they're going to be stars at the next level. Obviously, we knew Moody, was at the end of his career, but never going into it, right, as a freshman, sophomore, whatever. And then Ronnie has been slept on his whole career. So really cool to see those fellas take off.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny to think back. I was at the game where Ronnie Bell scored his first touchdown for Michigan, now that I think about it, against Nebraska. Yeah, 2018 was there, and it was like, you'd heard some buzz, like, yeah, this 2-star, whatever, but like kid can play. And he turns out to be a really good receiver and a great leader and ambassador for Michigan football. And now he's with the 49ers, who look like the best team in the NFL at the moment. Like, love to be a Niners fan. They're just dominant, great defense. Like, wish we could have that defense in Detroit. I'll tell you that.
You're right about that. And it was very timely that we just talked about it on our last pod with Jack and Kalen. I was like, how cool is it that we can pick up our friends in fantasy, aka Jake Moody, and then all of a sudden, he goes out and he's dominating on Thursday Night Football. So, thank you, Jake. He must have been listening. He probably listened, and did that just for us. So appreciate you, Jake. But yeah, we got a nooner tomorrow against Rutgers. Big Ten play. Was talking to Braden McGregor the other day, and he said this was Harbaugh's line. It's a 2-for-1 once you get into Big Ten play, because you can win and they can lose. And so, I like that. I like that a lot from Coach.
Yeah, I'm excited about tomorrow, man. A lot of complaining on Twitter about the performance. I know you guys probably touched on it on the pod earlier in the week, but I just feel like JJ is going to come out ready to go. Harbaugh's back, and he was there for 6 out of 7 days, but I do think that there's something to last Saturday. Jim Harbaugh pulls JJ aside and says, hey, it's okay. Like, it's okay. You threw a pick. It's fine. You don't need to get it back all in one play, which it felt like he was trying to, press. I don't know if you guys touched on that, but I thought he was pressing pretty big time, which is weird because we'd never really seen that. So I think Jim being back is going to be great just for the psyche of the team, especially JJ. And yeah, he's right, man. Michigan be 1-0, Rutgers be 0-1 in the Big Ten East. So ready to watch, actually competent football team. I think Rutgers looks pretty decent. I know, they beat up on some teams that you look at and you go, oh, okay. But, Northwestern's brutal. Virginia Tech is terrible, unfortunately. Yeah. Like, I have some connections to Virginia Tech, and oh my gosh, they're just terrible.
Really bad.
Yeah, it's unfortunate to see what's happened since Frank Beamer retired. But yeah, man, I'm excited for Saturday. A little early wake up and get after it and go watch the boys play, man.
Yeah, we'll have breakfast on the Blackstone at the going at the tailgate. I already sent a text at 7:30 this morning that we're playing Thunderstruck and doing a beer crack at 7 a.m. tomorrow. So I think that might be an issue, like that's indicative of a problem that I have. But I think some people call it a problem. Some people, it's just I'm just a fun guy.
I mean, I was in bed watching TikToks, around 7:15, 7:30 when that text came through. I thought you meant the song, which is partially true.
Well, yeah,
The
it's a
song is a
song with
part of
your
it.
drinking to it. Yeah.
Yeah, but we get stuck on those guitar solos, you're
It's
just
tough.
screwed,
It's
man.
tough.
That's happened a
It's
time or two
tough.
to me in my life. So
Yeah.
yeah, you don't want to get stuck
It gets the
on the
people going though.
solos. It
Um,
does.
all right. So I mean, yeah, I like listen, it is what it is. I'm just excited. I'm a little antsy. I was on the car ride into work singing Pitbull. Who shout out Mr. 305, Mr. Worldwide. Still the GOAT. But yeah, I'm a little over excited for tomorrow, which is not a bad thing in my book.
I'm excited because I don't have to. I like man in the grill, but man, you get that hot grease popping off there and hitting you on the arms. It doesn't feel great. I've been man in the grill the last 2 games, a little hot dog, a little hamburger
Yeah.
action. So,
You've been killing it.
yeah, I appreciate it. Those burgers turn out pretty good. We didn't have any cheese, man. Like they're just
I
burgers, and
know.
they are so
I
good.
know. I
The
know.
Blackstone, whoever invented the griddle, shout out to that guy or gal because it's a game changer. But yeah, like
Yeah.
you told me last night we're gonna be having some breakfast food, some pancakes. I'm sure maybe some bacon, sausage, whatever. Like, and the ladies are taking over. I'm down with that. That's going to be
Shout out to
incredible.
the women of Blue by 90 because they really are the only thing that keeps us going.
That's true.
So,
Yeah.
real quick question for you, going back to JJ and Coach Harbaugh. Do you love what Coach said in his press conference this week, which was like he still wants him to be the gunslinger? Like he's
Yeah.
not coming in here in week 4 after a less than great performance in week 3 and saying, hey, let's tone it down. He's like, no, he's our playmaker. We're gonna let him go make plays.
Yeah, and I talked about this on the Voice of College Football, the Michigan show. And you can't overcoach him on this stuff because if you want him to be a game manager, Michigan can probably win the Big Ten again, like he did last year. But if you want to win a national championship, you have to let the kid play ball. Like you have to let him make mistakes and be, run outside the pocket, and play outside of the typical pocket passer that Michigan has had under Jim Harbaugh. Like you have to let him be a playmaker, get outside, make throws on the run, and just be a difference maker. Because when you think about teams like so the blue chip ratio, I'm sure you've seen that. So I have a point with this because somebody brought it up. So Michigan is still above that 50% blue chip ratio line where you want to be to win a national championship. But the teams with like the lowest was 2010 Auburn, 2016 Clemson, and I want to say 2018 Clemson. Right? And what do all three of those teams have in common? Generational college quarterbacks. Cam Newton, Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence. I'm not saying JJ is going to be any of those guys, but for Michigan to win a national title when they don't have the same level of talent as Georgia, Michigan's very deep and talented, but like Georgia is a different level. You need JJ to be able to win that game and be the difference maker. So that's where I think about it from the perspective of trying to win a national championship. He's 100% right. You can't overcoach him. You can't tell him not to be a gunslinger. You can't try to put the cuffs on him. Like you have to let him run free and be that guy.
I mean, I always go back to the Johnny Manziel thing, right? And I don't think JJ and Johnny Manziel is like the perfect comparison because I think JJ is a much more complete quarterback than Johnny. Johnny was like the ultimate just fun guy to watch, and just everything was absolute chaos. Yeah, it was incredible. But there's a little bit of that to JJ where, if you want him to be able to make the unbelievable play, you can't say like, oh well, you can't try. There are gonna be times where he does make a mistake trying to fit one in that tight zone, or throw that last second thing after he scrambles for 10 seconds. That you have to have. There's gonna be a little bad with the good when you have that style of play, and you can't say, oh, he's gonna make those unbelievable plays without some of those things. Some of them not working out, and so. I love that Coach Harbaugh came out and said that in support of his quarterback. It would have been a little concerning if he actually came out and was like, yeah, we're going to temper, what he's going to do out there now. Let's reel him back in. because that's honestly what I thought that he did to Shea Patterson, which I thought really held Shea back. When Shea, I was talking about this with somebody the other day, like when Shea came in, we were watching Ole Miss highlights where he is doing the Johnny Manziel dance all the time, and that was what we were excited for. Then he gets here, and it's like handoff, play action, just really tamed it down. And some of that was because of injuries. But I think, to your point, like JJ is at his best when you're letting him do JJ things. And I got to read, let me pull this stat up that shout out my man Dave Solfaro from PFF. He sent this to me. It's a stat on JJ in the off play action. And this is really good podcasting because I'm struggling to pull it up right now.
Well, I can tell you JJ off PA is unbelievable because especially when you consider Michigan's run game, like it makes sense.
Yeah. So JJ off play action this season, 95.1 PFF grade, which is first in all of college football. He's 16 for 16 for 326 yards, 3 TDs, and a perfect 158.3 passer rating. That's pretty ridiculous.
So every pass should be play action. Like, honestly, like why not? Why not? Like, honestly, why not just have every pass be some sort of fake run?
Do you think that they're like holding, like, doing it a little bit now, and then once we actually get into Big Ten play and continue on, that they're just going to go pretty much to that in the passing game?
Yeah, I mean, they're holding so much back. Like, it's so vanilla at the moment. You've seen a lot of the same concepts and kind of some of the route trees and route combinations so far this season. And, again, this goes back to Michigan's goal. And, like, we talked about in the offseason about the beat Georgia drill, right? Like, their sights are not just set on the Big Ten. Like, they are set much higher. And so that's what cracks me up when people complain, like, oh, Michigan only won 35-7. Like, you know who I'm talking about.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. And it drives me nuts because of one thing. Do you really think, like, even though Jim Harbaugh was not there on the sideline those first 3 games, do you really think that he doesn't have, like, a plan for the full season? Do you think he's just winging it and they're, like, really, like, come on, man. I agree with you. They're holding back. They know, listen, the reality is that you and I could have lined up at the right and left guard, which, you sometimes are mistaken for the guard, Trevor Keegan.
That has happened, but it's only in our friend group. I don't know if it's ever happened outside of that.
But we could have lined up at right and left guard, and they still beat those first 3 teams, and so they all know that. You don't have to pull out all the stops. And I know it's not a 65-0, sexy win, but guess what? They're going to be okay. And I think that we're going to see that here in this Rutgers game too.
Yeah, I agree. I think, I'll just give my prediction. I have Michigan winning 38-10. I think JJ is going to come back with a big game. I think he's going to go for 3 touchdowns, no picks. And I think you're going to get a touchdown each from Dono and Blake. Like, I have a feeling that last week, wake up call when you win by 25 points, I guess. I mean, turned over 4 times, unfortunately. 3 of those were from JJ, and a couple of those were unfortunate. Maybe mistakes, maybe just miscommunication, whatever it is. And then, obviously the fumble. Max, buddy, just fair catch it, my guy, please. I was having a heart attack in the stadium watching him. I was like, dude, just go down. Like, this isn't going to end well.
I love Brady. He's like literally one of my favorite
people. He played
people.
Good too. Like, he graded out really highly, and just the fumble.
It's just one of those things where it's just like you don't be the hero. Don't be the hero. Just fair catch it. I've been on kick return plenty of times in my life, and like as much as you're like, I have so much green grass to work with. You got to know that you're the fullback / tight end, and you just fair catch it and go, give JJ the ball to take it down.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to catch it and you're going to run, just fall down before the kickoff team gets to you. If you start to see them closing in, just curl up and just fall down. Yeah. It'll be fine. But yeah, I see Michigan rebounding in a big way. I mean, you look at if you subscribe to any of the advanced statistics out there, there's one where it's expected points per play. And Michigan was the second most dominant team in the country in that statistic. Like, they should have won that game by 60. but the
Right.
turnovers,
And could
obviously.
have.
Yeah.
Turnovers for sure, obviously. And
Yeah, I
look,
mean
I
that's
really do
four
think they
that's
could
4
have.
drives off the board, right? And they,
Totally.
so you think you score on those 4 drives, it's 59-6, and all their points came off turnovers from Bowling Green's perspective. So maybe it's 59-0. I don't know, but it just I just don't understand where this Michigan has to beat everybody by 70 points because it doesn't matter right now. Like none of
How
that
many times
matters.
how many times in the past 2 years too, the first few games, and we're like, "Oh, this offense is so vanilla. We'll never," this was it forever. It was like, "We'll never beat Ohio State by doing this." And then you go out and you play really good defense and be methodical, and you go beat Ohio State by multiple scores.
I think I've shared this. I was at the Michigan Nebraska game last year, and Michigan wins 34-3.
Yeah.
Not bad. And I think they were maybe up 17-3 early in the second half. And the dude in my section is like, "This is why Michigan's going to get smoked by Ohio State." And I'm like, I think about that dude at least once a week. I'm like, I wonder what his just being a jackass in the section 19 at the big house about Michigan not beating Nebraska badly enough. And it's like, Michigan could beat Nebraska last year by just running the ball, which they did. Like, I don't know. I just don't understand where this, I guess people just want to be able to look good for the
You're
polls,
not
but like
they're not
Michigan's going to
happy
be
to.
there.
Exactly. Michigan's going to be there, like,
They don't need to beat
unless.
everybody by 100.
Exactly. Unless they, lose or win by, 3 points in this game, they're still going to be number 2. I think that's just reality. Let's talk about Rutgers for a second.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to say his name. Kyle Monangai is their
Yeah,
running
that's
back.
exactly it. Yep.
Wow,
Monangai.
that was pretty good.
That was great.
357 yards through 3 games is very good. Their
Yeah.
running game's really solid.
It is, yeah. They're a Greg Schiano team. This is his 4th year in his second stint at Rutgers. So, he started in 2020 during COVID. So, you take that with a grain of salt. But,
Yeah.
I think they've gotten, better each year. They came into the big house 2 years ago with a 3-0 record. And we know that game was a little sloppy. Michigan ends up pulling it out 20-13. But, I think that they're a solid football team. They have Aaron Lewis, who's a really good defensive end, who was a former he was enrolled at Michigan for a time before transferring back home to be close to his mother. When I think about Gavin Wimsatt, I think about a kid with a lot of potential, but I think the most recent stat line I saw last week was 7 of 16 for 46 yards, maybe.
I mean, he's through these 3 games where they have played well, and definitely, like, even though they're Power 5 teams that they're playing, they're all like pretty inferior Power 5 teams. And when I'm saying pretty inferior Power 5 teams to Rutgers, like, that says something, right? And he still is only throwing for 51% completion percentage. And that's where, like, I think if Michigan can get to him with our, the way our secondary has been playing all year, and then if you tee off on him a couple times with, Chris Jenkins gets to him, Braden McGregor, Jalen Harrell, Derek Moore, those guys get to him a couple times, I think Rutgers' offense is really going to struggle because then if we get to him and, we're containing the QB, and then we can stack the box and contain that run game as well, which is obviously what they're going to try to go to help him out, help that QB out. I expect not a lot going on for Rutgers offense in this game.
I agree. Especially with the way those defensive tackles have been playing. Really excited to see these guys against a pretty competent, pretty good run game. With Monangai, and Wimsat's a scrambler, a runner too. I think he had 80 yards last week against Virginia Tech. But again, this defense, the way that they're playing, they've just been so dominant. I don't foresee a way that Rutgers is really able to move the ball consistently enough. And also Wimsat threw 3 picks against Michigan last year, so I'm sure that they're going to be looking for some turnovers.
For sure.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Hopefully they get some of the guys in the secondary back as well. I think it sounds like Will might play. I don't know about Rod, but I think he's getting closer from what I've read on like the message boards and stuff.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I do think Macari's going to play as well, which is big.
Yeah, he played a little bit last week, so get him back into the swing of things. this defense has been incredible, and they've been without three of their best guys in the back seven.
That's the real, like, I know obviously we played the inferior opponents as well, and I saw people ripping on. Let's talk about Urban Meyer in a quick second. But
by the way, you should look at you should pull up Ohio State's 2024 schedule because it's just as bad as Michigan's 2023 schedule.
And go look up the non-conference games that Urban Meyer had, which was like he played shit teams all the time, and like. And here's the reality, too, is that Michigan would have been playing Notre Dame every year throughout this if Notre Dame didn't back out of this schedule. So it's like, we see these games, which is still so ridiculous to me that, like, it's like, oh, Michigan will play this team in 2045 or whatever when they schedule. Well, when Notre Dame backs out, it's tough to schedule these Power 5 games within, at kind of last minute, if you want to call it that, but only a year or two out, it's really difficult. So, like, and you know what? I still stand by it until the college football playoff, until they make it a benefit to play big games early on. Why do it? It's smart. I don't care if you get style points or you get points to say, oh, we're a big boy team and we play big boy teams in our non-conference. I don't care. It is a benefit to try and go 12-0. It doesn't help you to play a good team at the beginning and possibly have an L on your schedule.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. It's just like, are people going to be talking about Michigan's schedule this much next year when they play Texas, or the 2 years after they play Oklahoma, or 2027 when they play Texas again? It's like, dude, what? Like, we know it's bad. It was one thing caused this to be bad, and it was that Michigan was not going to have 7 home games, and the university likes that revenue, so that's why they canceled with UCLA. But if you look at 2024, Ohio State Buckeyes, do you want to know who they play? And they're ripping on this guy. Do you want to know who they play? Southern Miss, Western Michigan, Marshall. It's the same exact schedule as us. There's a MAC team in there. There's a team from the American. Like, it's just unbelievable.
So we can expect Urban to trash Ohio State next year, right? Yeah, I don't think we're going to.
They also don't get USC next year. Convenient.
Very convenient. Well, it's fine because we're going to go kick their ass again, and Ryan Day is going to be fired, and then they're going to be, maybe Urban comes back. He'll have a chance.
He might go to MSU. I've been seeing people on Twitter. They've been wanting Urban.
Oh man, Spiro, I can't do it. Well, did you see some of it? Like the bigger MSU accounts are clowning on Spiro at this point, which I love that. I think I don't remember his name, but there must have been like a former MSU football player.
Yeah, it was their long snapper.
Was it their long snapper? So basically the gist of it was Spiro said something, then the alum said, like, you have to be joking. I hope you're joking on this. And then Spiro was like, what do you know about Michigan State football? And he was like, 54 games worth, because he had played 54 games in an MSU uniform, which, like, the ratio on that was incredible.
It was tough. But yeah, I mean, it's just like frustrating to continually have this conversation because it's been the last 2 years. Yeah. But if you look, the rest of their schedules, sans COVID, because they didn't play any out of conference, there's always a Power 5 team there. And this is just a one-off. And when we move forward in 2024, Texas comes to Ann Arbor. Michigan then has a home-and-home back-to-back years with Oklahoma. And then they go to Austin in 2027. And it's just such low-hanging fruit. And it gets engagement because Michigan fans, look, I'm emotional. We're all emotional. We're sick of the disrespect. Shout out to Mark D'Antonio. Like, we are just over having these conversations. And so Urban knows that, like, he can get some engagement.
Speaking of D'Antonio as well, there was somebody posted the screenshot of him on the sideline at the game, and it's 41-0 Washington. And it's just like him on the sideline, arms crossed. That got a little smirk out of me. I'm not going to lie.
I mean, dude, at this point, like, if I'm him, I'm worth millions and millions of dollars. I've made a lot of money coaching. I've invested
from that program.
I'm hanging out with my wife, kids, grandkids, whatever his family situation is, man.
In
I'm
Cabo
doing
or
I'm
something,
doing some
bro.
honey to-do lists at home. You know, I'm relaxing. And I'll watch that game. I don't know if he has Peacock. I don't know. But if I'm him, I'm watching that game on the streaming app, and I'm turning off at halftime, and I'm moving on with my life. I just can't imagine. Look, I know he loves MSU, all that good stuff. I get it when you love, an institution and you want to help, and I respect that. But if I'm him, man, I'm out of there, brother. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm relaxing. I'm not. You're not dragging me down. Like I'm happy.
No,
He started
no
to look
way. He
happier
did
too.
it.
Like photos I saw, like he looked much
Totally.
happier than when he was on the sideline in 2019.
And you know what? He did his part for MSU. Like he was the best coach in probably their history, right? Or one
They
of
had
them.
they had some national championships back, but like modern era, yeah, for sure. Like, but if you go
For
back to
sure.
like the 50s and 60s, like I know Duffy Daugherty, I think had a national championship or two. So like, but yeah, I mean, in the last
You know how I know
50 years, yeah.
you know how I know you're a Michigan fan. You go back.
Well, I
Talking
know
about
college
history.
football history, dog. I
No,
know I know
I'm
I know all
joking.
the schools.
I'm joking. So let's end it with this. What do you think is going to happen as soon as Jim Harbaugh steps out from that tunnel? I think the place is going to go ballistic.
Oh, it's going to be incredible. Like I may skip the tailgate just to get there. I don't
Dude,
even have
I
tickets
agree.
yet, by the way. It's so expensive for Rutgers.
It's so expensive. It's like $100.
I know. So I'm gonna just play it by ear tomorrow and just wait at the tailgate and just have like SeatGeek on my phone and be like, oh, $65? Absolutely. Even though last year for UConn I paid like $20 to get in. So but yeah, I think people are gonna go crazy. I'm gonna be very excited. Definitely gonna try to get to this game. Because I'm going to the Nebraska game next weekend too. So I'm gonna just try to keep that streak going. Unfortunately, I will not make it out to Minnesota, but but yeah, I think people are going to be very excited to see Jim. I'm going to be very excited. I think it's going to be just a great moment. And I think, going back to my points earlier, I think this team's going to come out ready to go. Like last Saturday, it just didn't feel like they were juiced up. They were kind of flat. I don't think that's going to happen on Saturday. I think they're going to be ready to go. And I think they're going to look pretty damn good. And I'm excited.
I agree. Talking to most of the guys, they, as good as the night games are and the atmosphere and, you can get up for them, a lot of them like the noons better because you're not just waiting around all day. I think for a night game against Bowling Green, you're sitting around all day. For these noons, you can get up and go, and you're locked in and focused. So I agree with you. I think they're going to come out firing. I expect like touchdown first drive, stop and then you go. Especially with the juice that the crowd's going to bring for Coach. I think it's going to be, for all things considered, a noon game against Rutgers. Like I think the atmosphere is going to be pretty damn good.
Yeah, I mean the atmosphere has been pretty awesome all season. Like the student section, people like to take pictures of them in the fourth quarter. Like they were going crazy.
It was insane. Last week, the crowd, they're literally like, I don't know a game in the last decade that I haven't been able to at least like find a few spots, at the top of the student section or just like seats so that I can sit with my friends instead of like in, my normal seats. There literally last week was not a single section where I could find like 4 to 6 seats together, which is awesome. It was absolutely packed. This is what we've been waiting for a long time.
Yeah.
To be able to just have like a packed big house that is actually affecting the game and bringing a really good atmosphere.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is just a placebo effect on me, but when I watch the highlights on my I like to watch the game on my phone when I'm at the gym on like Sunday or whatever. And I'll tell you what, man, it feels like on the TV broadcast that it's louder. And I'm assuming a lot of it's due to just the new scoreboards and that traps more sound in and it just bounces back off the scoreboards. But it feels louder. So I can't wait for the Ohio State game to see how loud it's going to get. I mean, side note, I wish they would just close everything off with like all the, like just do brick all the way around and just close it off and just have
I feel like that's got to be next, right?
I mean, dude, you want to talk about intimidating? Like just create more suites around the top and then just have that. I mean, it would be one of the loudest stadiums in the country at that point.
Capacity is 120,000.
I mean, you could just make them like the glass suites, like for the very well off folks, like they have now. Yeah. I mean, just wrap those suites all the way around. You don't even add any more seats, but
I love it.
Yeah, I'm ready for Saturday, man. It's gonna be a fun time.
Let's go. I can't wait either. We'll see you at the tailgate. Shout out North Peak Brewing and Hale IPA. Shout out to the Blue by 90 beer as well. Come have a couple with us. Why not?
Please.
For us, you can follow us at Blue by 90 on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at Blue by 90 Podcast on YouTube, and BlueBy90.com. We appreciate you. Go Blue.
Go Blue.